Hey YouTube, hadn't made a video in a while. Gonna make one today comparing the Ruger LCP, the LCP2 against the Glock 42. Why are people so ignorant? I've had a lot of comments on some of my videos that just blow my mind. I guess I give people way more credit than I should for having common sense. Some people, I would say, not all people, just some people. I've had some of the most ignorant, dumbest comments I've ever seen on my videos that I just can't believe that people are so ignorant. I've had people comment saying I would never carry a loaded gun in my pocket. Well, then don't carry a loaded gun in your pocket. But don't carry an unloaded gun in your pocket, or you might as well not have anything. If you think you're going to have time to pull one of these guns out of your pocket and rack around in the chamber and then take care of the threat, well, you're living in a fantasy world. But that's just, it blows my mind how stupid people are. I would never carry a gun without a safety. Well, the Glock has 3 safeties, but it don't have an actual safety on the side that people associate with having a safety, so they think it's unsafe. Good grief, people. I can't believe it. I guess I give some people way too much credit. But today I'm going to talk about the LCP original, well, whatever, the regular LCP, the LCP2, and the Glock 42. Now, these 2 LCPs are mine. The Glock 42 is a friend of mine that I'm taking care of his possessions while he's out of the country. I just stepped in from shooting 30 rounds through this LCP, 30 rounds through this LCP2, and 20 rounds through this Glock 42. And as a side note, I also shot 25 rounds through the old Glock 17. If you do not have a Glock 17, or if you've never shot a Glock 17, you owe it to yourself to at least borrow one and try to shoot it. This is the sweetest shooting 9mm I've ever shot, and I've shot a bunch of them. Believe it or not, I've shot a bunch of them. Now, I'm fortunate enough to be able to step into my backyard and shoot anytime I want, and I'm thankful for that. But if you've never shot a Glock 17, do yourself a favor and go rent one, borrow one, whatever you need to do, and shoot one. This is the original Glock. Whether if you hate Glocks or love Glocks, you got to shoot a 17. I'm going to make a video shortly about 5 guns that every gun collector should have, and this, you better believe, is one of them, the good old Glock 17. This video is not about that. Now, I've put several hundred rounds through this LCP. Now, this is the original LCP, I guess you would say, but it is much improved over the very first LCP that come out. If you have watched my other videos, you'll know that they made improvements to this to the regular LCP, and this is not bad. And I just shot it just to re-familiarize myself with it for this video, and I also shot the LCP2. And I'll be honest with you, with both of these, I'm shooting low and a little to the left, and that's me. That's not the gun. That's me. That's not the gun. These little guns are they're not a pleasure to shoot. I'll tell you that right now. They have some recoil. Now, I have the Hogue Grip All, I believe it's called, on this original LCP, and that helps tremendously with the recoil. The LCP2, the grip is a little wider from the factory, but it's still a hand beater. Now, it'll get old after a few rounds. I'll go on and tell you that right now. If you're wanting something for target practice or just shooting for plinking or shooting at the range, you don't want either one of these. Now, the Glock 42, excuse me, it handles the recoil well, but as you can see, it's considerably bigger than both of these LCPs. the Glock 42 is not a pocket gun by any stretch of the imagination. If you're going to go with the Glock 42, I suggest you go on and go with the Glock 43. There's not a whole lot of difference. I know I'm not doing this justice. The Glock 42 is on top here. They're almost identical. It's about maybe a ½ inch longer. The Glock 43 is a 9mm. So if you're going to buy a Glock 42, you might as well go on and buy the Glock 43 and get the 9mm. That's the only thing I have against the Glock is the size. The trigger's not a conventional Glock trigger on either one of these. I'll go on and say that. It's a little stiffer. You can get the trigger bar and make them a little lighter. But a Glock's a Glock, and you can't go wrong with a Glock. But if you're wanting a gun to put in your pocket, the Glock is not it. It's quite a bit bigger than the LCP. As far as pocket guns go, you got the LCP, you got a Taurus TCP, a Kel-Tec, whatever that piece of junk is, and Smith & Wesson Bodyguard. You can now get without a safety. Thank you, Smith & Wesson. And I have shot a Bodyguard one time, just one mag through, so I don't have a lot of experience with the Bodyguard. I've had the TCP Taurus. Just like a lot of the other Tauruses, the trigger's just atrocious, and I just can't, I don't want no more of them. The trigger on this original LCP is way, way better than the trigger on the Taurus, in my opinion. In my opinion, people, don't lose your mind. But the trigger on this LCP2 is the best trigger of any pocket 380 I've ever shot, and I've shot a bunch of them. The SIG P238, it's just a different gun altogether. It's a single action. You got to carry it cocked and locked, and I just don't care for that. But the SIG is a sweet shooting 380, as well as I'm sure the Kimber is, and the Colt Mustang and all that. But as far as non-single action 380s go, I think this LCP2 is probably going to be hard to beat. If you already have an LCP, though, I think I would keep it and not worry about the LCP2. Not everybody's stupid like me and will have both. But the LCP has a long trigger, yes. They have a custom model, which I'm still trying to get my hands on, that's supposed to be a better trigger. I'm not sure if it is or not. It does have some taller sights. But other than the fact that the slide doesn't lock back, and also on the LCP2, the slide is much easier to manipulate if you're buying this for a lady, or if you are a lady and you're worried about the slide, the LCP2 is much, much easier to work the slide. If you don't have one at all, I would get the LCP2. If you already have an LCP, you're probably just as well to keep it, unless you have the original model, which came out in 2008. Now that trigger is terrible. It's ridiculous. This 2012 and up model is much, much improved. Basically, if your serial number has a dash in it, then dash. You don't want it. The serial number on the improved original LCP will not have a dash. The LCP that came out in 2008 will have 3 numbers, then a dash, then more numbers. That one was terrible. It had really, really non-existent sights and a really terrible trigger. This one with no dash is much improved. The LCP2 trigger is phenomenal. I'll just say it. I like it. I like it a lot. It's almost like a Springfield XD trigger if you've ever shot one of them. It's more like a Glock or a Springfield. It's more like a striker fired trigger than it is a hammer fired, which this obviously is. The Glock 42, it shoots very nice. Handles recoil very nice. But it's just big. And it's so big, you might as well get the 43. in my opinion. Matter of fact, this is the 43. I had them both laying here. I can't tell them apart. The 43 is just a tad bit bigger, but hey, for the 9mm over the 380, if you're going to buy a 42, you might as well buy a 43, in my opinion. If you just have to have a 380 and you want one that's too big to put in your pocket, this Glock 42 is ultra reliable. It shoots very nice. It handles the recoil nice, and it's a Glock. I mean, what else can you say? Love them or hate them, you can't beat them. That's all I can say about them. I used to hate them like everybody else. Oh, they're plastic. They ain't no count. Well, I learned. I finally bought one and learned for myself that they are ultra reliable. They ain't pretty, that's for sure. But they will fire, and they will fire almost every time. And you can't go wrong with a Glock. Glock 17. It's worth a look. You got to shoot one. If you've never shot one, don't call yourself a gun enthusiast, because the Glock 17 is the original. I went out and put a hole in the bullseye of the 4 targets that I was shooting at with these little things, that I did not put a hole in the bullseye with, by the way, at 10 yards. I put a hole in the bullseye on all 4 of them with this. So go out and shoot yourself a Glock 17. But if you want a pocket gun and you already have an LCP, stick with it. If you don't have one and you're thinking about an LCP, go on and get the 2. Like I said, that's my opinion. Keep your pants on. Don't panic. Carry it in your pocket. Carry it in a holster, but carry it loaded. Come on, idiots. Bring on the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye.